Bro, you've only been out a couple months and you're about to go back. We were riding around in a van and everybody had a gun and like I didn't, so I thought I was safe, but man, I would have went back. So here I am putting on my boots and lacing, and before we go, I'm praying. I remember opening up my Bible real quick and just like, come on, God, just where you at? Show up. This doesn't need to happen. And boom, guards come in and it's a shakedown. And sure enough, the fight didn't happen. And I was like, oh Jesus, that was
So that's
legit.
so that's the God that we're trying to introduce, not the God that was in the building and not the God in the church, but the God that you can know personally.
And call on him.
If God can do it for you, he can do it for them.
Yeah.
And if God could change me, he can change them.
God's not trying to change you. He's just trying to change what you were doing.
Welcome back to
Oh my
New
God, you're so
Beginnings.
Okay.
Yes, welcome back. I have my returning guest, my husband, George Torres. I'm at the edge of my seat to like tell y'all something, but I can't because he's going to share and like what I want to tell him and acknowledge him and like introduce him. But yeah, so here we are. We're back at our podcast, and New Beginnings is a podcast where we share testimonies and stories of life, true life transformations of when you give your life to Jesus Christ or when you accept and you get to know who God is. And so, I brought my husband, George Torres, back to be our guest,
Thank you for
but
inviting me back.
yep. So New Beginnings is the podcast that God gave us, and we've been doing this now for a few months. So thank you to all of our followers, our listeners, people who are tuning in, people who are truly enjoying what this podcast is doing, not only in their lives, but their coworkers' lives or their families' lives. So we want to tell you thank you. Thank you for sharing all of our information and thank you for logging on week after week. Shout out to our faithful people. Shout out to the ones that repost and reshare. Thank you guys so much. Because it's not just about Nina and George. It's about sharing the gospel. It's about sharing Christ with others, people who probably
Yeah.
won't go to church,
I want to share
people who don't
Jesus.
are probably standoffish about church and organizations that have to do with church. Even people when they make contributions don't want to give to a church. So we are thankful for all the people that continue to support New Beginnings. We are hoping and believing that soon we are going to be hearing a testimony and a blessing that God has given us our transitional house, because I'm going to keep on calling that out because I want y'all to see the hand of God at work and this God that I constantly talk about. And that's what I did when I kept on telling the ladies that I mentor in my church that God was going to bring me a godly man. And um he did, but he wasn't godly when we first met. And we were hearing in our last episode about the transformation, about when George was incarcerated and he was told about Christ and he put it to the test.
Yeah.
He put what these volunteers were going into the prison and telling him, and he put that into practice. And so he shared with us of when he was incarcerated, when he opened up his heart, when he invited Christ into his life. And then when he got out, it wasn't like he just became this man that showed up every Sunday at church and he had a Bible with him and he was doing all of these things that people know a Christian to be. He got out and, he dabbled back into smoking and going out to the club and drinking. And then we shared in an earlier podcast of how him and I came about and how God um, brought him back around. But when he was sharing his last, in the last episode, when he was sharing his story about him being released, we wanted to know how you continued to follow Christ. Um, Not because you were in prison, because I mean, you have lots of hours. It's not like you have television to sit and watch. I mean, you have to go to your job that they give you and you have to do stuff and probably classes and all of that. But reading your Bible is a lot easier than being out in the free world reading your Bible, because in prison you have temptation, but probably not quite as much as you would as in the free world. And so I wanted to know, how did you get to where you're at now? Like, how did you become a man of God, and how did you continue to maintain that relationship? Because you went through stuff when you got out, and you were telling us a little bit about that. So here we are.
Here we
Sorry to
are.
keep you in suspense all week.
Yeah, so yeah, when I how did I maintain, or how did I even get to that point? Um I got to that point by when I got pulled over,
Mhm.
and I thought it kind of flashed that like everything, bro, you've only been out a couple months and you're about to go back because you're going back to your mess again. I was going back to doing the same things.
And tell us the dates again, like, you got out
I got out
what month? You don't have to give me, like, but
Yeah,
the
I got
month?
out in
October?
October 2009,
Okay.
and now we're in like January 2010, and that was my point, like, okay,
October to November, November, December, December, January, so 3 months.
yes, 3
Okay.
months, and
And in those 3 months is when you were dabbling back out, going back to your old friends, right?
yeah, I went back
And
to my old friends and went back to old going out to the clubs with them, and I was like, "Hey, well, I'm not drinking, so I'm safe." But
yeah,
yet I was still out there. They were wilding out. They had, you know, we were riding around in a van and everybody had a gun, and like I didn't, so I thought I was safe, but man, I would have went back
you
just as
still put
easy. I
yourself
put
in that
myself
back
in that
environment.
situation.
Yeah.
I wanted change. I did. I wanted change. I didn't want to go back to that. I had just been given a chance to come out. And now that I'm out, I started reverting back to like when I was in there. What were those things in prison that helped me? Because I remember we were, it was the blacks and the browns in prison and they were about to fight, and I wasn't a part of a gang, but the Mexicans, they were like, "Hey, if you're brown, lace up and we're about to go fight." And I'm like, "Bro, so here I am putting on my boots and lacing, and before we go, I'm praying.
Mhm.
I'm praying, not that because I didn't want to get out there, but the fact that, man, we're about to lose commissary, we're about to lose visits, everything's about to go. We're about to go into lockdown because we're all about to get in a fight." And I remember opening up my Bible real quick
uh
and just like, "Come on, God."
And this was that Bible that you were talking about, the
Yeah.
thou, thee.
Yeah, and I opened it up and I'm like, "Come on, God, just where you at? Show up. This doesn't need to happen."
Yeah.
And sure enough, everybody's laced. We're about to hit the rec yard, and boom, guards come in, and it's a shakedown. And sure enough, boom,
Fight
everybody,
didn't
yeah, the
happen.
fight didn't happen, and I was like, "Oh Jesus, that was
So that's
legit."
so that's the God that we're trying to introduce, not the God that was in the building and not the God in the church, um, but the God that you can know personally.
And call on him,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, so I called on him, and he showed up, and I remember now getting pulled over, and it's like a day later, and I'm like, okay, I gotta call on this God again. Like, God, you gotta help me.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this no more. So I go to work, and sure enough, there's this, a little girl and her parents, and they're buying a suit for their marriage retreat or something, and she invites me to the church, and then a week later the pastor shows up, and I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. I got to talk to the pastor,
So
and
it sounds like while you were incarcerated, you cried out to God so that the fight wouldn't happen. You got out, you started reverting back to what you used to. So for 3 months. And then in January is when this little girl comes in to, or not just a little girl, but a family
A
comes
family,
in.
yeah.
A family comes in because it was gonna come around for February, right? Like, they were gonna
Yes.
have a marriage retreat or something.
Yeah, the church was doing something, and then I meet the pastor, and the pastor starts talking, but
That's our pastor from
yeah,
our
our pastor
church.
from our church, and
Yeah.
he
Bishop Paulo Hayda.
Paulo Hader from Austin Powerhouse, him and
Yeah.
Pastor Lillian, and
You're more than welcome if you don't have a church to attend and you're in the Austin area. Come join us.
absolutely come visit us, and he just kind of encouraged me just a little bit at that moment, like, "You're gonna make it, you'll be good," and then I actually walk into the church.
Well, it sounds like, um, after you have this, you open up your heart and you accept Jesus into your heart.
That part.
It seems like it doesn't just like from one day to the next. Like, okay, I accepted Christ. Where are you? What are you gonna do? Like, and he just changed your whole life. Like, just because you give your life to Christ, it doesn't mean that you get this big house and now you're living this great life. It's like you're still trying to continue to find this relationship and knowing and having a personal relationship and knowing who God is, because he's not religion, he's not the church, but he is it's he is someone who cares. He is someone that cares about every detail of your life. He cares that you were gonna revert back and go back to your old life,
He's
that
somebody you can count on.
he
Yeah.
sent a family to say, "Hey, stop," and then he sends the pastor to
Yes.
encourage you,
Yes.
and it sounds like it reminds me of a story in the Bible, and it's Jonah. And Jonah tries to run from God, like he's just running and running. And finally, God puts him in a place where he's in the belly of a fish, and he had to put him in that place to speak to him. But it sounded like you were trying to run from that, who God is, or getting to know
Yeah.
him more. Like, because I mean, you said it, he's not a religion, he's a relationship. So in a relationship, you need to know him. You need to spend time. You need to talk to him. You need to like fellowship and get to know one another.
Well, and they
And
told me in prison, like, just talk to him like he's a homeboy. Talk to God like he's a friend. Talk to God like he's a real person. You
yeah,
know, tell him a secret, and I promise you, he's not gonna tell nobody. Why don't you try it? And I did that, and I wanted this change, and I wanted something more.
yeah,
I didn't want to go back to that lifestyle. I was ready for something new. That lifestyle took 2 years of my life. That lifestyle took me away from so many things.
but
And
it
I'm
was
grateful for
probably
that
the best.
lifestyle.
But
Yeah,
it was
I'm grateful
probably
for
the
that
best.
lifestyle because it gave me something new.
Yeah, but it was also it took you away, but it also put you in a place where, you know, sitting you down away from the world was probably the best thing that happened for you, because God
That's
was
the only way he got
introduced to
my
you. Yeah, like
attention.
he was introduced to you in the jail, in the prison cell. And I think that's why, going back into the prison and talking to people, it's like people don't know that people ask us all the time, like, are you scared? Is it crazy? Like, no, it's like they're people, they're real people that have gone through a lot of stuff in life. And, there's people like George that are there. There's people that, we can share and show and tell. Like, all you have to
Planting
do is open up your
seeds.
heart. All you have
Yeah.
to do. And so then you meet the pastor
Then we meet the
and
pastor and we go and I get to the church and I'm at the church and I walk up to meet the pastor, like shake his hand, let him know, like, hey, all first time visitors come up and meet the pastor. So I go up there and he recognizes me and I sold him the suit and he asked me something. He goes, he started it off with son.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he started it off with son. He said, "Son, have you ever been to jail?" And I said, "Yes, sir."
Yeah, you
He
shared
goes,
that in our last episode.
"Yeah, have you ever lied? Have you ever cheated?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, then why don't you try this? Give me 1 year of your life,
Yeah.
and I promise you'll never be the same." And
And I
then
think
I
that
became a part of the mentorship. Like That's what propelled me. That's what has anchored me. Me having somebody make sure that I stay on this path, checking on me, me being
When
able to
you
call
feeling like
somebody.
yeah, when you felt like you wanted to revert back. Or I think too, like when you say give, give me 1 year of your life, it's giving God 1 year of like being committed to him because when we think about that, when people are asking and these people want to know, like, how do you continue to serve God and not go back to that lifestyle or whatever? But, when I was in the world and I gave, the clubs money for drinking, that was my, treasure. That was my money. And my time was driving to prison to go see my son's father. I gave a lot of my time. And so here I was giving my time and my treasure and giving all of this. And so taking all of that and saying, well, if I can give that to the world and I can give that to people, why can't I fully give that to Christ? And why can't I give that him my time, which is me spending time with him and getting to know him? Why can't I give him my treasure? Like what I do possess and give some to help others and to help, build a church or do whatever it is that God's calling me to do.
I wanted when he asked that, when Bishop asked for me to give God that time, my heart was ready.
Yeah.
That was the key ingredient
Yeah.
to making all of this possible.
Yeah.
Was I already had been exposed to all the things of the world, the money, the drugs, the women, the glam, all that stuff. I already had done all that. And I looked back and I said, what did that give me? Oh, that gave me 2 years in prison. That's what that gave me. If that's what I want, well, then that's what I can expect. So, me following Christ and showing up to church on a Wednesday, like, bro, hold on, man. I go to church on Sunday. Isn't that enough? And said, well, if you were in a relationship and your girl only kissed you one time, is that enough? I
Right.
was like, oh, okay, player, you right. Okay.
Yeah.
Me having Pastor Henry as my mentor, he put things into perspective that I was able to understand because at that other church that I went to when I got out, the perspective wasn't there. And when Bishop Paul was on the stage preaching and he gave an illustration of, hey, there's different churches for different people, but if this church is a iPhone charger and you're an iPhone, well, guess what? This church will charge you.
Yeah.
But if this church is an Android and you're an Apple, you wonder why you can't get charged. Go
Connect.
find a
Yeah.
place where you get charged.
Connect. Yep.
I found out Bishop Paul had died of a cocaine overdose. I was like, damn, that brother gangster. Like, and then
Yeah.
Pastor Lillian was,
The
she was in
cabarets.
the cabaret, and I'm like, wait, hold on. That last church I went to, and there was nothing wrong with that last church,
Right.
but that last church didn't charge me. It didn't
Right.
feed me. I saw him up there, and he talked about you know, giving this and doing this, and the prosperity of God will continue. And I was like, okay, God, this is where I'm supposed to be now. But I didn't understand that. And then I come to a church where they're talking about, you need to give away some
Raw.
of these things. And it
Raw.
was raw, uncut. And this brother, when y'all meet Bishop Paul, he's he a strong 5'4", you know what I mean, 5'5". But up on that pulpit, that brother was 6'3", and he was tall and speaking fire to me, and I'm like, I'm on the edge, just like, man, this is it. Like,
Green machine.
yeah, like this brother's really giving it to you, and that's when I understood the relationship part.
Yeah.
That not every girl in the world was for you, but when I met Nina
Yeah.
and the way she would speak to me and how she encouraged me and how she motivated me and how she didn't want me to change. She
Yeah.
Miss Nina told me this. She said, I'll never remember it. This is the holy Miss Nina. She said, you're a grown ass man and God
Oh
will
my
change you
God.
when he's ready.
George.
I'm sorry, but that was that raw that you told me.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I found somebody who wasn't fake. I found somebody who wasn't trying to be somebody she wasn't. She
And I
told me,
wasn't afraid to walk on
and
eggshells and
w
tell you the truth.
and tell me the truth, and that's what happened. You asked me how did I maintain this walk for 16 years?
Yeah.
Because I had people finally in my life to tell me the truth. I had somebody who was gonna hold me accountable. I had a woman after God's heart who said, "Look, it's not about you and me. It's about you and him."
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you told me that on our walk, and you said that I didn't have to change, that God would change me when he was ready. And that's what happens. You asked me how I maintained this walk for 16 years because I was ready. Because I was willing to listen. My pride didn't tell me that I couldn't hear from a woman. My pride didn't tell me that, who are you to tell me this? I no longer had pride. Prison took my pride. Prison took my pride, and I was done with that. I was a proud man, and I would argue with the cop. I was a proud man, and I'd argue with the guard. I was a proud man, and I'd argue with people. And that didn't do anything but lead me into prison. And then I humbled myself. And then I asked God for change. And I was ready. And then you walk into my life. And you give me nothing but truth. And nobody told me truth because I would persuade them with something else. I would persuade them with the drug. I would persuade them with money. And you weren't persuaded by that. And Bishop's up there telling me truth, telling me that if I want change, then I had to change. That change wasn't change until I made change. That's how I maintained this walk for 16 years. And then Pastor Henry, I went to an Encounter God weekend, and he said, "Have you ever been hurt?" I said, "Man, I've been devastated, man." He said, "Well, write it all down on a piece of paper. And when you go to this encounter this week," he goes, "I promise you, God is going to change those things." He goes, "When you go to an encounter, you hand that to God, and that's your ticket." And I wanted something different. I didn't want to carry these burdens no more as a man. And we're going back to how did I maintain this? How did I become this? Today, I'm not George. Today in the church, they call me a leader. They call me a deacon. A deacon is somebody who is honorable in his own home, who his kids look up to him, who his wife honors him, who is somebody steadfast, who is a pillar. I've been walking with Bishop Paulo Hayden Austin Powerhouse Church for 16 years, solid. I ain't left for a month. I ain't took no break. That when we had it, we had
You
it, and
didn't
we
feel
did it,
like
and
you
we
show
did
up when you felt good or when things were great in your life?
No,
You didn't go back to going back to the old life either.
no.
When it got tough, you still stayed firm in your relationship with God.
My
The God that wasn't in the building, it was
yes,
him knowing you, knowing him, and him knowing you.
yes,
So you got mentorship. So you got
absolutely,
mentorship.
yes,
So you came to the church, you got mentorship. You allowed somebody to speak truth to you. You allowed somebody to um, pour into your life and help you when you wanted to run back and go back to the world, or when you thought I was going to leave you. And it truly is in you. And you went to a retreat. And I think that's what we want everyone to know is when you get alone and you get away and your heart is ready and you say and you want God into your life, that it's you getting away with him and him really showing you that you're accepted. It's him calling you a son or a daughter.
yeah,
It's him really putting people in your life that can help you. They're not God, but they are representatives and they are people that God sends, just like the man that God sent into the prison to share something with you and sow a seed into your life. And then you get out and then you meet, our church, you meet our pastor, you meet Pastor Henry, a good friend of ours who was your mentor before he became your friend. He was a mentor, like a brother to me, a brother that I didn't have. And those were very vital people in our life that They were instrumental in helping you to become this man that they believed that they saw could be. So the man in prison plants, God sends you into this church, start to water it, and God starts to give you an increase in your life. And he makes you a deacon. And he takes you from prison to be this great husband, his great father. Your kids love you. I can vouch for that. Your kids love you. Your wife loves you and honors you. And it's because seeing that you really are a man who loves the Lord. Nobody can say that. I can. The way you act, who you are at home, and who you are in public. That you're a real man that loves the Lord. And your integrity and who you are and who you've become. And there's so many Georges out there.
I would say this. You have to be ready. You have to want you have to want something more, and know that when you start serving God, he's the God of increase. He's the God of love. He's a father. He wants to see you do more. He wants to give you more. And he gives it to you as you continue to progress. I didn't know how to be a husband because I had never been a husband.
Yeah.
And that was a desire that I
And a
wanted.
father.
He gives you the desires of your heart. I want to be a great husband. So what did he do? He surrounded me around two men who had 20 years of experience of being husbands.
Yeah.
He would orchestrate things to show me when to be quiet. He showed me that God showed me, not man, because man didn't show me how to apologize. Man didn't show me how to ask for forgiveness. Man didn't show me that. God showed me that. And every step, God would increase me. God would show me how to ask for forgiveness because I moved too fast. And God had to show me to apologize, not just say, I'm sorry, Nina, but hey, babe, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have acted like that.
Yeah.
God showed me how to speak to your heart. God showed me how to be a father to Roman.
And it's because you can only give what you have. And so when you have the heart of Christ to be patient and be understanding and be compassionate and be loving, it's because you have his heart and you were able to show that through your conduct and through the way you acted. And so when you are able, like I said, you've been able to be this great father and being able, because even through times and trials that we went through, we knew now because, just because things got rough in our life, we didn't go back. We like grabbed hands and we prayed and kept on believing and kept on trusting. And it didn't sound or look like it used to in the beginning when you first come to Christ. It's like, yeah, I'm excited. I love the Lord. And you hit like little bumps and speed bumps down the road. But when you truly face real life situations, you lose loved ones, you lose vehicles, you lose houses, and you lose, I mean, there's been so many things. You get hurt, people hurt you, people talk about you, like just many things. Like, and the easy thing for people to do is to go back to way back, but we know that going way, way, way back could potentially put us back in prison or, you know, be a lot worse. But to see that when you truly give your life to Christ and even through the hardships and even through the ups and the downs, that you continue to maintain that. And because you continue to maintain that, God says, He says, don't lose heart, for in due season you're going to reap a harvest. And I believe that you're in that harvest of season of where God is completely transformed your whole life. And he's not a respecter of persons. What
Yeah.
he's done for me and
He'll
you,
do for you.
he can do for anybody else.
Yes.
But you have to open up your heart,
Come on.
accept him into your heart.
Yes.
You have to be ready.
Yes.
And you have to continue to trust him and believe him even through the good and the bad.
God is not a bipolar God. God did not tell me to marry this woman and then as trials would happen, nah, you're good. You don't have to. No. When I found out that God's yes is yes And when we got married and trials happened and we held hands and did exactly what you said we did, was press in and move forward and believe for his greater in both of those,
Yeah.
that's how I sustained this 16 years of walking with God, was knowing that God is leading me. And for the last 16 years, I have been humble enough. I don't know if that goes together. I don't know if I can call myself humble and then say that's humble. But what I'm saying is, I said, I will submit to you, God. And for 16 years, I've submitted to him. And because I've submitted to him, everything else has fallen into place.
Amen. And I think that's what I wanted to hear you, because you, out of all people, had been incarcerated. You had, you know, got out, and I have seen I have seen your life transformed from the very beginning of that stage of walking in, because you weren't this great man of God. And I shared that in our podcast, previous, like how we got together, but yet I've seen the transformation unfold right in front of me, and to see that you've become who you are today. And that's what we want everyone to know, that if God can do it for you, he can do
Yes.
it for them. And if
Yes.
God could change me, he can change them. And so that is why I wanted to hear from you, because out of everybody, you're so relatable to the people that are incarcerated, that do, eventually will get out. And are they going to hit struggles? Are they going to hit challenges? But how do you maintain that relationship? How do you keep on pressing in? How do you keep on trusting? For me, there's no going back, because if I go back and what my life was like before, I don't want to go back to that place. It's like, why do
You're
you
gonna go
want to
back
go
to
back to what? I mean,
what's back
hurt,
there?
miserable. Like, I mean, I go through stuff now, but nothing compared to like what life was like before. And if I could handle that life before, then I can handle this life. That if you couldn't take me out then, you ain't gonna take me out now.
Come on now.
So we just want to tell you, I mean, and God don't want you to change. He don't want you to change who you are. If you are bold and strong, be bold and strong for Jesus.
That's
Like,
right. That's
if
right.
I mean,
Teach him real
I
quick.
didn't just because somebody looked at me crazy and side eye at the club. That don't mean that I'm gonna let you look at me side eye, and I'm just gonna be like, "Oh." I'm gonna be like, "Boo, bounce back, buck back." Like, because I know who I stand with, and I know who I am in Christ, and I know that my relationship with Him is more solid, and so is yours. And I think that that's why we're able to walk in this blessing, and we're able to walk in this new life. But new beginnings is so thankful for having you. Thank you for making
Oh, wow.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with me.
Thank
Um,
you.
and we're excited, and it's going to continue to keep on. We're going to continue to keep on having people, and as God continues to make a way, we're going to continue to share the gospel and share these transformations and stories and lives of how God truly steps on the scene. He's like chile on a taco. He just tastes like it just like the taste of it. I love that.
Little ever talking about
So,
tacos.
thank you for joining. And if you are that person that you're like, man, like I can relate to George, and I've been through some hardships, and maybe I fell off, and maybe I wasn't completely ready, but my heart is ready, and I want to surrender. And I do want that God to enter into my life, to give me, like, there's so many testimonies. There's so many testimonies of this is just these are just little testimonies of what God can do. I mean, there's so many great testimonies of what God does when you truly allow Him into your life. And so, if that's you, all you have to do is open up your heart and say, God, I invite you into my life. And I know it's not going to be easy. And I know it's not going to change from one day to the next. But if I continue to stay steadfast, and I continue to stay and maintain my relationship with you, then I know that this is just the beginning of what you can do for me. And God, I want you in my life the way they talk about. And so, I want to make you my Lord and my Savior, and He'll come into your life and give you that new beginning. And new beginnings with the podcast, new beginnings, transitional house, new beginnings of all that God is fixing to do and continue to do in Jesus' name. So,
Man, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor to just share. So I appreciate you. And yes, I think I'll just finish with that. I think that was beautiful. God's not trying to change you. He's just trying to change what you were doing. And as an example, you were wild, you were strong, you were a fighter. And I can tell you that, and I can tell all of our listeners that she's still that today. She is strong and she's a fighter, but any enemy that comes against our family, she's swinging. Any enemy that tries to say something or sow a seed into our family, oh, she's saying something back. She'll clap back right at you. So that's what we're talking about. We're not trying to change you. We're just trying to change your
We're
circumstances.
not clapping back at you. We're clapping back
Back
at
at
the
the
devil
enemy.
that's in
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
So
But it's
don't
beautiful.
forget.
Good job. Yes. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Turn on your notifications. And it's an honor, man. We appreciate y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.
God bless you.